Try to quiet your mind by watching the breath for a few moments. Then we can think, contemplate. May our time coming here together become cause and condition to actualize three principal aspects of the path. May it become cause and condition to obtain fully awakened state as soon as possible. So we can be a greatest help and benefit to each and every sentient being.
Hey, what's this? Beastie beast, beastie beast. Everything's so clean.
Okay. So to the founder, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the one gone beyond, the four destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human being to be tamed, teachers of God and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offering, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the one gone beyond, the four destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of God and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya plane, I prostrate, make offering, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the one gone beyond, the four destroyer, the completely perfect, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teachers of God and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, non-standard destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya plane, I prostrate, make offering, and go for refuge. 사시베기 중심에도 다리라 레시 인데겐 번데 성계신도 미대오와이 욕은 넘어다실라 주바라쇼 이담 그루라 나만달라가니야타야미. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient. Sangye Sodang Soge Sonam La Chanchu Padu Daneka Daki Shushe Gibe Sonam Dola Penche Sangye Dupora. So we have been discussing about Lama Tsongkhava's three principal aspects of the path. And within that, we finished about the first principal aspect of the path, the renunciations. And now we're in the second, that is the awakening mind of the bodhicitta. And with that, there is three main outlines, and the reason to generate the bodhicitta mind, how to generate the bodhicitta mind, and the definition or measure of having generated the bodhicitta mind. And within that, we first finished the first one, why we need to generate bodhicitta mind, and then we are in the how to generate the bodhicitta mind. And we spoke a little bit about that, again, the bodhicitta mind is the, you can say highest level of the warm heartedness, good heartedness. There can be many different level of warm heartedness, good heartedness, and bodhicitta will be one of the highest level of that good heart, warm heart. And once we are able to cultivate that bodhicitta mind, it becomes extremely powerful, as very powerful way of accumulating merit, very powerful way of purifying all the negative karma. As Shandeva said, there's nothing more powerful than bodhicitta mind to purify all the incredible negative karma that we create. And as he said, when we have a good thought, when someone is having a headache, if you have a good thought wishing them to be free from that headache, that is a wonderful thought. And just having that thought, we accumulate positive karma, merit. And then he said, what is there to more to talk about when we think of the wish to free, not only just one pain and suffering, the pain, all the suffering, all the pain of not just one sentient beings, but countless sentient beings. Is that one moment you create incredible amount of merit, positive karma, and therefore many of the Katamba masters says, if you want to purify, practice the bodhicitta. If you want to accumulate merit, practice the bodhicitta, because that is the most powerful practice in terms of purifying as well as accumulating merit. And once we are able to cultivate the bodhicitta mind, is like, as Shandeva explained, is like a alchemy that transforms all our ordinary activities into virtues, that transform all our ordinary activities into the cause to enlightenment by the power of the bodhicitta mind. And also, the bodhicitta mind is, like the nectar that cure and heal the pain and sufferings.
Bodhi.
And that also, bodhicitta mind, When you have bodhicitta mind, then definitely we have no more. When we have a bodhicitta mind, then we have no more ill will feeling, anger, hatred towards others, and that itself is such a healing. Um, mm. And when we are bodhicitta mind, even when you have some, physical pains, challenges, difficulties, through the power of the bodhicitta mind, all these, whatever physical pain, challenges, difficulties, we wouldn't feel so much pain, because that pain or discomfort would be totally overpowered by the feeling of bodhicitta mind, the blissful feeling of the bodhicitta mind. Mm. And bodhicitta mind is like the clouds, the rain, um, that give rise to all the plants. Same with the bodhicitta mind, will, like the clouds and the rain, they will give rise to so many other realizations by the power of that bodhicitta rain. So it's so powerful. And as Shantideva explained, as His Holiness Dalai Lama always mentions, if you want to work for the well-being of yourself, practice the bodhicitta. If you want to work for the well-being of other sentient beings, practice bodhicitta. If you want to work for temporary well-being, practice bodhicitta. If you want to work for long-term well-beings, practice the bodhicitta. So the bodhicitta is key to everything. Bodhicitta is key to everything. And even in terms of the Lamrim, whole Lamrim is centered around the bodhicitta, the practice of bodhicitta. Whole Lamrim practice is centered around the bodhicitta mind. The practice of small scope and middle scope in the Lamrim is like the foundations and the preliminary to the bodhicitta practice. So it is the foundations or preliminary practice to the main practice of bodhicitta. Then bodhicitta practice within the great scope, then the bodhicitta, and then there is the practice of six perfections. And so the practice of the bodhicitta itself, that is the main practice of the whole Lamrim. That is the center of the whole Lamrim. And the six perfections are like the advice of the bodhicitta, commitment or the advice of the bodhicitta. So therefore you can see the whole Lamrim is centered around the bodhicitta mind, the practice of bodhicitta. And so that just understand how, just can understand why is the crucial, the very heart of all the practice, the very center of all the practice. And therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa says, the bodhicitta mind is the very essence of all the bodhisattva's practice. And it is the very heart of all the bodhisattva practice. And as it is mentioned in also Shantideva, like what you call churner, like you chur, or like you shake the by shaking the milk, then you get a churn. By shaking the churn
the butter.
Yeah. So then you get the essence from that. That is the butter. And then by churning the butter of all the dharma, then you get the essence of that, the butter, the essence is the bodhicitta mind. And so I think that is so then in terms of the practice itself, I think, we just read a little bit last time, the two verses, so by meditating on how each and every sentient beings is kind of swept away by the four rivers, or the four current of the rivers, and that they are tied by the rope of the karma that difficult to undo it. And not only that, they are caged in the iron net of the self graspings. And not only that, then they are under the darkness, carried away in the darkness of ignorance, and by and experiencing tormented by the suffering of three sufferings all the time, or one of the three suffering all the time. And by understanding that, then we try to generate strong sense of compassion and bodhicitta mind, the wish to free them from all this endless, never-ending pain and sufferings, and the cause of suffering. Mhm. So, in terms of the practice, practice meditation itself, then you see different meditations, equalizing and changing self with others. One particular method, another method that you find is 7 point of cause and effect. And whichever method you use or meditation you use to generate bodhicitta, first with the foundations is to build equanimity, good foundational equanimity, because in order to have bodhicitta mind, then we need to have great compassions. And in order to have great compassion, then we need to be able to feel compassion, not only for certain individuals, but to each and every sentient being. And to be able to feel compassion to each and every sentient being without any exclusions, then first, without having the foundation of equanimity, it's hard to feel that for everyone. And so therefore, the first is the foundations. Whichever method you use, whichever meditation you use foundations, first we need to have good foundation of equanimity. And when you meditate on equanimity, then we try to meditate and think, that the very sentient beings, our families, friends, and so forth, those who are close to us, now, to whom we feel very attached, very close, very dear, also, they have been also our enemy in the past, where we have a conflict, many times in the many past lifetimes, In the same way, with those whom we have conflict now and difficulty, and to whom we dislike, and so-called enemy or not, but even all of them also has been so kind and compassionate, and have been our parents, best parents, been our best friends, children, and so forth, many times in the past, equally. And so those who are strangers, neutral, they have also been, our enemies sometimes our friends, families, close friends, families, many times. They all have been like that. It's just that we might not remember at the moment. We do not recognize and remember that, but they all have been that. And therefore, there's no reason to be so attached to some and have so much aversion to the others. Instead, we should try to feel more equal to each and everyone. Some of them have been close to us now. Some of them have been not so close to us now. But those who are close to now, they have also been distant in the past. Those who are distant now, they have also been close in the past. It's only a matter of time, but that's the case. So therefore, there's no reason to feel so attached to some and so strong aversion to others. So then, and also not only that, from their point of view, each of those sentient beings wish to be happy and do not want suffering equally. And they all have a right to be happy and not to suffer also equally. And so therefore treating them unequally, again, is not correct. From their side, they all have equal wish to be happy, not to suffer, and they all have equally right to be happy, not to suffer. And therefore, for us to treat them differently, unequally, is again also not right and correct. And therefore, I should regard them equally, treat them equally. And through that, then again, we try to develop sense of equanimity. If we have strong equanimity, then it will be easy for us to cultivate love, compassion to each and every sentient beings. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us to cultivate love and compassion to those which we feel, to those whom we have aversions, or dislike, whom we dislike and to whom we have aversions, anger and hatred. It will be very, very difficult to feel compassion, love for them. And without feeling the love and compassion for them, there's no way that we would be able to generate great compassion. Without a great compassion, there's no bodhicitta mind. And so therefore we have to work very hard first to build up that foundations of equanimity, and also in this life, nothing is certain, we have experience. I think we have experience to a certain level, and we can see the world around us, people around us, how things change, enemy become friends, friends become enemy easily. Someone who is very close can become distant very easily. Someone who has been distant can become close. And again, we are not just making up, we have experienced ourselves and we see around us, And therefore, to hold so tightly, just because we are close to someone now, to hold them so tightly with such a strong attachment as though that is not going to change, and then to hold with such a strong aversion towards some, because we have some issues now, because we have disagreement, because we have different views, opinions, or because of certain attitude, to hold them so distant and so strong aversions, again, it's not correct and it's not true to the reality, because that could also change and they can become our best friend and close friend. The potential is there, and so therefore everything could change in that way. And so with that understanding, then we try to keep more equanimity. And if we can practice that more equanimity, also we suffer less. Not only we are building the foundation for the loving kindness, great compassion, and bodhicitta, but just by being able to keep that equanimity, by able to practice the equanimity, if we can practice, then we will suffer less. We will suffer less. At the moment, we suffer so much because of strong attachments, due to attachment and due to aversions. If we look out throughout the day, every day, when we are feeling unhappy, something bothers us, something disturb us, something make us miserable, if we really check it, go deeper, then it is either because of attachments or either because of the aversions and anger. So when we practice the equanimity, then we kind of it's like putting water, cool water, to the fire of attachment and anger, and it cool down, calm down, and have more peaceful state of mind, peaceful, calm, peaceful mind, and calm, peaceful life as well. So then in terms of, so that is the foundation for either of those different method or meditation, whatever you use to develop the bodhicitta mind, to actualize bodhicitta mind. First, we try to develop that foundations of the equanimity, and on the basis of that foundation, equanimity, then we try to develop all other practice. So in terms of 7 point of cause and effect, the first point is, recognizing all sentient beings as being our mother, and second is remember the kindness. The third is repaying the kindness. Fourth is cultivating the loving kindness. Fifth is cultivating the compassion. And sixth is cultivating the special attitude or universal responsibility. Those are the six, and the seventh is the bodhicitta mind, the result. So that is why we call the 7 point of cause and effect. 6 are cause and 1 is effect. Those 7 different point of. And in order to have the first realizations, understanding that all sentient beings are our most kind mother, then we need to have understanding of, how our mind is beginningless, how our mind continue to go from one life to another life, as Dharmakirti explains, trying to reflect, contemplate, where does my present moment of my mind come from? It come from previous moment, of 1 hour ago. Where does that come from? It come from it's the continuity of this morning mind. Where does that come from? It's the continuity of yesterday, last week, last month. Where does that mind come from? It is the continuity of the mind from, last year, 10 years back, 20 years back, 30 years back, and go back to your childhood, and then the baby in the mother's womb. And then where does that mind come from? That come from, it is the continuity of the mind at the conceptions, during the conceptions. Where does that mind come from? It has to come from the past, previous life. It comes from the previous life. Where does that previous life mind come from? So it comes from, again, if you go back, and then again from the life before that. Where does that come from? Life before that, and then goes, and there's no end to that. And so there is no beginning. And since there is no beginning of our life, so we have taken countless rebirth. And when we take rebirth, in most cases, then we rely on the mother, and so therefore, everyone has been our most kind, precious mother. Not only they have been our precious kind mother, but many times, each of them has been many times, not only many times, countless times. So from that point of view, then there is no place that we are not taking rebirth, There's no body that we have not taken rebirth. We have taken all kind of rebirth, all kind of body. We cannot pinpoint and say we haven't taken this particular rebirth or body. And even as a human beings, we have taken many, many times. And each time we take a rebirth as a human beings, we rely on mother, to give the birth, as well as animals. Each time we take rebirth as animals, as a bird, as a, whatever, dog, cow, horse, whatever, each time. And not only we have taken rebirth in all of these life, different rebirth, but we have taken rebirth in each of those different sentient beings many, many times. So we try to reflect, contemplate, meditate on that until we feel each and every sentient being has been my most kind, precious mother many, many times. Until we feel that with a total certainty, with total convictions, with total conviction, with total certainty that, that they have been our most kind, caring, loving, precious mother. So that is the first point of that practice meditations. So we try to contemplate, think, meditate until we start to feel each and every sentient being has been our most kind, loving, caring mother, precious. So then when we recite prayer, may all mother sentient beings, then that prayer, that word become alive and real. At the moment, we actually even recite may all mother sentient beings, such and such, but we just are using a word, but it's not alive. We still doesn't feel, someone you dislike, that he or she has been our most kind, caring, loving, precious mother. We don't feel that way. Those which we have aversion and hate and have anger, we don't feel they have been our most kind, loving, caring mothers, even though we use the word, all mother sentient beings, but we don't really feel that at the moment, Forget about those who have aversion, even among those who with whom we have a close relationship, even we don't feel they have been our most kind, loving, caring mother, And so therefore, once we have that realizations, unshakable, understanding, experiential understanding and realizations that they have been, then, then when you ever use all mother sentient beings, then it becomes so real, so alive. So that word has incredible, deep meaning and profound meaning when we recite that, when we say that. At the moment, it doesn't have such a, that feeling and meaning. And then we try to remember the kindness of all not only they have been mothers, but when they have been mother, they have been the most kind, and remember the kindness. So again, we try to remember the kindness by remembering the kindness of our mother in this life, right, by recollecting, if we can remember, I think the unfortunate part is that when we were so much dependent on our mother's care, love, compassions, when we were so vulnerable, And when they were there for us totally, we don't remember that part. That is the unfortunate part, you know. Even in my cases, I don't remember how my mother, how my parent treated me, you know, when I was 1 year, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years. And that is where, you know, that is where we are in where, you know, we cannot even open our eyes. You know, we cannot even move our hands so much, you know. If they don't take care, you know, we could be dead in any moment. We can be frozen to any moment. If they abandon us, if they don't take under the care of them, their love and compassion, we could be easily dead. We could be easily be eaten by any of the bite and eaten by other animals. And, you know, so that, that, you know, so they have the kindness. Every day is like saving our life 100 times, 10 times, 1,000 times every day, protecting our life. Like, for example, you know, if someone, you are being attacked by a dog or lion or bear, if someone protect you from that danger, how much kindness you will feel about that person, how much appreciation and gratitude you will feel about that person. Probably will never forget that in our life, that you should say they saved my life. That is what our mother did. Every day they are saving our life, because in that, when we are very little, especially we are born for at least months and years, we are in that, you know. Every day is dead and is almost alive and being dead if they just doesn't care, doesn't pay attention, you know. Mm. And the thing is, you know, even we don't remember personally each of them, but we can see, you know, parents who are taking care of their children upbringing, and when they're very small, how much attention they have to give, how much love, compassion they have to give, you know. So when you remember that, when you see that, then you remember, oh, my mom must have also just taken care of me like that. That is why I'm still alive. That is why still I'm in whatever I am now, you know. And sometimes you can also observe the animals, the parent, especially the mom, how they bring up their child, you know, and how much they are willing to, even some of those animals, some of the birds, you know, very tiny and they don't have anything to kind of really, you know, but when something come to attack their child, they will jump, putting their life into danger. And they know they are putting their life in danger, but they are willing to put their life in danger in order to protect their child. That just clearly shows the love, the compassion, the care of the mother for the child. And even not only human beings, even the animals, you know, when they grow up, then they don't remember that, you know. They don't remember their parent, especially the mom, how much sacrifice they have been, how much care they have taken, given, you know. Mm. And so trying to remember the kindness as much as possible, recollecting the kindness. Since it might not come easily all the time, it's good to kind of write down sometime all the kindness that you can ever remember, you know. Sometimes, you know, we forget, and if you think and if you discuss with others, then there's someone, your siblings, your, others, aunties, your grandparents or friends or others, they might be able to say, how much, what your parent did or what your mother did, and then you can write down or you can think about that, and so that we can really feel the kindness of our mother, the kindness of our mother each day, each day, week, months, years, and even though they might not have got the best educations, and they have saved all their savings, unable to enjoy themselves, and they expend that for the education for the children, that the children can become better than them because of that, the love and compassion. Basically, we grow up through the love and compassion of and the care of our mother, especially when we are most vulnerable and when we're very young, when we cannot take care of ourselves, when we are unable to take care of ourselves, we don't know how to pee, we don't know how to go to the toilet, we don't know how to eat, what to eat, we don't know how to cook, we don't know how to keep ourselves warm when it's too cold, we don't know how to protect ourselves from the danger of fire, electricity, and from being cut by the knife and so forth. And when you are in such a vulnerable state, our parent constantly, especially mother, constantly paying attention, alert, and to protect ourselves, to protect the child from being hurting themselves, from putting themselves in danger. Because we could easily do that, because at that moment we don't know much anything, and that is how they protected us with kindness, love each day, each day. Mm. And the mother will, especially when you are very, very young, vulnerable, the mother is willing to go through all the pain and suffering, and in order to protect the child, to make enemy, even their best friend, even their most dear ones, family, in order to protect the child. If they have to make enemy, they will do that to protect the child, and they are willing to create negative karma for the child. So in that way, even though they know, in some cases, especially if you have an understanding of karma, even by engaging that, you will be creating a lot of negative karma, and that by that you will be experiencing suffering and pain. But if it's to protect the child, they will go for that without thinking about the consequences, suffering that she will have to experience in the future. So to give up her own happiness and to be willing to go through the pain and sufferings. And such is yeah. So anyway, we try to remember the kindness. So we try to reflect, contemplate as much as possible, that you can recollect as much as possible the kindness. So then you really feel the kindness of the mother all the time. So then you really feel the kindness of the mother. And once you feel that, then not only they have been so kind in this life, but they have been equally so kind, loving, and caring in so many lifetimes. So many lifetimes. As a human beings, as a animals, and many, many. And not only there, each and every sentient being has been equally same way, caring, loving, and kind in the past, so many times, so many times. And they will continue to be loving and caring and kind in the future as long as we take rebirth, many times in the future as long as we take rebirth in the samsara. You know. So by reflecting, contemplating that again and again until we start to feel kindness of each and every sentient beings, the kindness of each and every sentient beings. By understanding all of them mother, not only they have been all mother, but they all have been such a kind, loving, caring. And so, you know, and then once you have that feeling of the kindness, you know, feeling of kindness all the time, feeling the kindness of them all the time, you know, so not just one time, you know, because sometimes we can feel kindness one time. You know, sometimes I can feel kindness of one individual. I can feel kindness of my mother. I could feel kindness of my fathers, my brothers, sisters, friends. But we don't feel that all the time at the moment. We don't feel that all the time. You know. So here the meditations is to that we continue to reflect, contemplate, and meditate until we started to feel that kindness all the time. Of first starting with our present mother and then slowly expanding to all other sentient beings, and then feeling that to the kindness of each and every sentient being to all sentient beings that way. And if we can feel that, if we have that realizations, you know, feeling the kindness of mother sentient beings, of all mother sentient beings, I don't think there is a space to feel loneliness and being unloved. Do you get it? Because you always feel all sentient beings is loving you, being kind, caring all the time. And they have been as well, you know. And then the third meditation or practice is, you know, then cultivating the thoughts to repair the kindness. And as in many of the teachings says, you know, and it's quite natural. If you feel the kindness of that, all mother sentient beings, if you can feel the kindness of mother sentient beings, then of course to repair the kindness, wanting to repair the kindness will come quite naturally, easily. You know, will come quite easily, naturally. At the moment, it's difficult to feel the wish to repair the kindness because we don't feel the kindness of others. And even if we feel it, we don't feel all the time. So, but if you feel the kindness all the time, then the strong wish to wanting to repair the kindness will come quite naturally, you know. And then when we have the feeling to repair the kindness, then how can I repair the kindness? Of course, so you feel you want to repair the kindness. And so then how can I repair the kindness? You know, and then of course, you know, there are so many different ways of repairing the kindness, you know. When our parent needs help, being there, taking care of them. You know, whoever needs the help in same way, we never hit the help. And when we have the opportunity, when we have the resources, capacity, ability to be able to give whatever help they need, physical, emotional, material, spiritual, whatever help they need. And when we have the resource, then to provide that. But these are still, we are repaying the kindness, but it's a very ordinary way of repaying the kindness. This is a very ordinary way of repaying the kindness. So the best way, the supreme way of repaying the kindness is to help them to overcome their own delusions. That's the supreme way of repaying the kindness, to inspire them, to encourage them, to help them to overcome their own obscuration, their own delusions, and to help them to find lasting true happiness. And if we can do that, that is so we need to, so we try to develop that strong, wish to wanting to repay the kindness in that way. Because that's the supreme, the most powerful, most wonderful way to get the kindness. Because once we are able to do that, then there is no looking back. With our temporary help, repaying the kindness is never ending. It's never ending. As long as their karma is there, as long as the delusion is, there's no end to that. So, if they are starving, we can see like animals, they don't have food, or human beings as well. You feed them one, is not the end. Again, tomorrow. And, it's endless. And then they get sick, and you try to help them, they recover, again they get sick, again you help, again they get sick. All of that, all this temporary help that we can do, is great that we are able to do that, but it will be even better, and the best way is if we can help them to overcome their own karma, all those negative karma, and the cause of all those negative karma delusion. Then if we can do that, then there's no more repeating of those suffering and pain again and again. So then we are able to help them, where they don't have to experience that pain, suffering again and again, endlessly. And so trying to cultivate that strong wish, wanting to repay the kindness in, not only temporary help, samsaric help, temporary help, to repay the kindness with temporary help, but to be able to help them, much more deeper level, much more profound level in that way. So trying to cultivate that thought all the time. So then if we want to repay them kindness, so because I really want to repay their kindness, and not only I really want to repay the kindness, but I want to repay the kindness in the best way, most profound way, most beneficial way. And that is to free them from this own karma, negative karma, and the delusions. So if I want to repay their kindness, to be able to do it, I myself need to overcome my own karma and my own delusions. Otherwise, I will not be able to help them to overcome delusions. And so therefore, again, when you have that, it also kind of bring back to us the need to work with our own mind and reduce and overcome the delusions quickly, as quickly. The more quickly I'm able to overcome my own delusions, my own karma, the more quickly I'm able to help them and repair the kindness in the most profound and most beneficial way. You know. Mm. Mm. And then once you have that strong wish to repair the kindness, you know, then next one is meditating on loving kindness. You know, and the loving kindness is cultivating the wish to strong wish to see them or have them, all sentient beings, having happiness and cause of happiness. All mother sentient beings wanting to see them to have happiness and cause of happiness. You know, by meditating, you know, even though each and every sentient beings want happiness, even though each and every sentient being want happiness, you know, but they are devoid of happiness. They lack happiness. They do not have true happiness. You know, they do not have ultimate happiness. You know, forget about the ultimate and supreme happiness. Most of the sentient beings even lack the samsaric happiness. You know, they don't even have the samsaric happiness. Temporary and samsaric happiness. Even they, you know, they want to have a healthy, the happiness of having a healthy life. So many of them struggle to have that. They want to have a happiness of good relationship. So many of struggle with that. They want to have happiness of, you know, having a more security in financially. So many of them struggle for that. You know, they want to have some comfort in their life. So many struggle for that. They want to have happiness of having enough to eat, drinks, where so many of them struggle that. You know, they want to be able to have happiness of being warm, to be able to keep themselves warm all the time. So many of them struggle that. So even the temporary samsaric happiness, even though they want happiness, so many of sentient beings lack that kind of, even the temporary happiness. Forget about the ultimate happiness of liberation and fully enlightenment. They desperately want to be happy. They so much want to be happy. But they lack the happiness, you know. So as you reflect, contemplate, and the reason why even they want happiness, they lack happiness is because they don't know how to engage in the real cause that lead to the happiness. They don't know, they are ignorant about creating the right cause condition for the real happiness. And because of that, you know, then they continue to struggle to have happiness and the lack of happiness. And so when you see that, you know, how they are struggling with their happiness, physical happiness or physical pleasant feelings, sensations, as well as emotional, mental happiness, when you see how much they struggle, and because you feel their kindness, and because you want to repair their kindness that is already been developed earlier, and then you see how much they struggle with their happiness, then you really feel, and I wish they have all the happiness they want. I wish they do not have to struggle with their happiness. I wish they do not have to struggle with their happiness and cause of happiness. I wish they could have happiness and cause of I wish they could have all the, not only temporary happiness, but ultimate happiness, lasting true happiness, and cause of that. And then you develop that strong wish, wishing them to have the happiness and cause of the happiness. So that is the loving kindness, cultivating loving kindness, the wish to see them in happy, peaceful, peace, happy, healthy, good, and the cause of that. So that is the fourth, the loving kindness. And the fifth is, compassion. And compassion is a state of mind that wish to the others, the wish to see them from, wanting to see them be free from suffering and cause of suffering. Then again, in order to cultivate that, the wish, strong wish to see them free from the suffering and cause of suffering, again, we try to reflect, contemplate. Even though none of sentient beings want suffering, even for a moment, even the most slight, tiny suffering, discomfort, even though they do not want, even though they do not wish, even for a moment, but if we reflect, contemplate, then again, the sentient beings are experiencing so much pain and suffering. Some of them physical pain and suffering. Some of them emotional pain and suffering. Mental pain and sufferings. Even in the physical pain and suffering, so many different types of suffering, Even nobody wants to be sick. We experience suffering or sickness, some form of sickness. Sometimes it is serious, sometimes it's just small, but not feeling well physically, all. Even though we do not want to get old, but again, we cannot stop that. And with the old, then, our body is not as strong as before. And a lot of others problem arises, Even though no one wants to die, but we cannot stop that. And so again, the suffering and the pain of dying, aging, sickness, And again, even though we want the best relationship, we struggle because of that. There is so much pain and suffering. Even though we want to have a, good living, security, but again, due to not having enough or feeling of not having enough, then again we suffer. We experience so much pain and sufferings, And sometimes we experience suffering because it's too cold. Sometimes we experience suffering because it's too hot. In the summer, we complain it's too hot, In the winter, we complain it's too cold, If we don't have snow, we complain we don't have enough snow. If we have too much snow, we complain there's too much snow. If there's no rain, we complain there is not enough rain, unhappy. And if there's too much rain, then again we complain there's too much rain. If You know, if it's too desert, we complain it's desert, but then you go to the ocean and again, after some time you started to complain. There's no end to complaining. And that complaint comes because we are not happy. Because we are not happy. Complaint only comes when you are not unhappy, when you are unhappy about something. If you are satisfied, happy of something, you wouldn't have a complaint about that. You know. So if we look, you know, our life is full of complaint all the time. Of course, we might not complain to others all the time, but in our mind, you know, and that comes from unhappy state of mind. And that unhappiness state of mind is a suffering, pain. When I was in Deer Park, you know, one of the things when I go out of this state, one of the things I've noticed, first thing, very, very obvious, is all the greens, you know. That is one of the things in my eyes, you know, immediate kind of impressions or that I see the difference is so green. I feel so green everywhere, you know. And so definitely in medicine, you know, where the deer park is, you know, it's so green, especially in summer when I was there in summer, you know, because I was there for quite a few years attending teaching of Gandhi Rinpoche, which is one of my main teachers. So I've been there. So, you know, at the very beginning when I was there, you know, it's so green, so lush and so beautiful, you know. But the problem is there is so much bugs. Bugs, you know. We were trying to sit outside and just have a talk, and the mosquitoes, you know, so many mosquitoes, and then deer flies, you know. And so you can't really stay so much in the outside. So you have to go inside. And then I was telling to the monks there, you know, oh, this beautiness is looking from the glass. We can't really experience it. I said, it's like a momo in the glass. You just look at it. so I just kind of made that comment, you know. And then in the evening, you know, I walk, and sometimes we walk together, you know. And sometimes when you are walking, you want to recite some mantras. And then when you open your mouth, some bugs is already inside you. So you can't even open the mouth, you know. So again, that is the you know, as much as it's so lush and beautiful, but also there is that part as well. So again complain, you know, again complain. And we have less problem here with those kind of bugs, you know, with the mosquito, and I don't think we have deer flies, you know, and also you don't have those small bugs, you know, if you open your mouth that goes inside, you know. But again, we complain it's too dry, you know. So anyway, no matter where you are, no matter what, you know, so as long as we're the delusions, there's no end to the complaint. There's no end to the unhappiness. So with that understanding, then we see, you know, how even though the sentient beings, nobody wants suffering, but they are going through so much pain and suffering and problem all the time. You know, there, as it is said in the the verses that we went through, they are tormented by the three sufferings, suffering of change, suffering of all pervasive. Sometimes all of them three together, sometimes two of them, and sometimes at least one of them, 24 hours. All pervasive suffering is 24 hours. Suffering of change, sometimes there is not 24 hours. And of course, suffering of pain is also not 24 hours. Sometimes there is suffering of pain, sometimes there is not. But the suffering of all pervasive is 24 hours. And so basically, sentient beings are suffering, one of the suffering all the time. So as you reflect, contemplate on that, again, you feel, sense of unbearable and the wish to free them from the suffering or cause of suffering that come more easily because we have gone through other points that you feel they have been all sentient beings, your most kind, caring, loving mothers. You feel their kindness, love, caring all the time, and you want to have a strong wish to repair the kindness all the time, and you want to make them happy, you want to keep them happy, you want to see them free from suffering. And when you feel the pain and suffering they are going through, then there's sense of unbearable, sense of unbearable. And when you see that, pain and suffering and unbearable, then, you really wish from the depth of your heart, not just from our mouth, but from your depth of your heart, from the very bottom of your heart, sincerely, you wish that they be free from all the suffering and cause of suffering. You wish that is something that you can do. You wish you could help them to free from suffering and the cause of suffering. You wish that you can reduce the pain. You can overcome it, eliminate the pain and cause of the pain and suffering. And so that is the compassion, great compassion. When we have that feeling towards each and every sentient being, then that is the great compassion. That is the great compassion. And then, we might think, well, they are suffering, and that they are suffering. Even they do not want suffering, but they are experiencing suffering. Even they wish happiness all the time, but they struggle to find the happiness, But do I have to take the responsibility, Isn't there so many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are working for that? Let them take care of them, There are so many Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. They could do that, Let them take care of that. But such attitude is a wrong attitude, And so even though there are the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so many others who might be trying to reduce their pain, who might be trying to, end their sufferings, who might be trying to give them happiness, joy, lead them to happiness, joy, but it is our responsibility. It is our responsibility from our side to try all our best to reduce the pain and end the pain and the suffering and cause of suffering, and to lead them to happiness and cause of happiness. So therefore, feeling that, I'm going to do that myself without depending on others. So generating a very strong courage, very strong courageous mind, very strong courageous mind that I'm going to free all sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering and lead them to happiness by myself alone without depending on others. And that is the special attitude or the universal responsibility, the six. So that is generating much more stronger attitude, much more stronger courageous mind and courageous attitude. Not only you want to see them, not only you wish them to be free from suffering and cause of suffering, but you are taking the responsibility to do that yourself. Not only you wish them to be have a happiness and cause of happiness, but you take the responsibility on yourself to do that yourself. That is, so it is much more stronger. That kind of attitude is much more courageous and much more stronger than the loving kindness and compassion. Because here you are taking the responsibility on yourself to do that. And so cultivating that courage, by thinking, if I don't do, who should do that? Is my responsible, because they have been so, kind and caring and loving. And that is one thing I can repay the kindness. That's one thing I can do, to repay the kindness. So through that kind of reflecting, contemplating, meditating, then you try to develop this very strong and powerful and very courageous attitude. Thinking, no matter what happens, I'm going to do by myself, And so unshakable, by any kind of difficulties, that having that kind of strong courage to take on that responsibility by oneself. So that is the sixth. And then after you have that incredible courage mind, incredible courageous attitude, it is wonderful to have such an incredible, courageous, and powerful and very strong attitude. It's incredible, it's very powerful. But just by that attitude itself, you cannot free sentient beings from suffering and cause of suffering. You cannot lead them to happiness and cause of happiness, even though that attitude is so strong and unshakable. And so because, how can we free them from suffering and cause of suffering? That means freeing them from all the delusion, all the obscurations. When we ourselves is under the influence, under the control of the delusions, it's like, you yourself drawn, swept away by the rivers. How can you help others, save them from being swept away? Because, you cannot even save yourself. In order to save the others, you should be in a position that you are also not swept away and you're powerless. You must have some power that to save someone who is powerless. You should know how to swim in order to save someone who doesn't know how to swim. You should have your clarity to help someone who is confused. If you are yourself is confused, how can you help others to free from being confused? And so with that understanding, then, at this point, as much as I sincerely want to help them to free from suffering and cause of suffering, and help them to happiness, cause of happiness, but in these present situations, I'm unable to do it. My situation is that I'm unable to do it. Then is there any way, is there any possibilities that someone can help them free from suffering? Then you see, if one can become fully enlightened, when you are free from all the delusion, all the obscuration delusion, obscuration of knowledge, when you have actualized all the positive qualities, all the realizations, when you have not only you have the, limitless, unconditional, highest level of love, compassion, bodhicitta, and wisdom, but also, the ability to see and read each sentient being's mind, predispositions. level of the karma. And not only to be able to see that, but have the skillful means to help them according to that, to free them from the suffering and cause of suffering. So you see, if you can achieve such enlightened state, it's that they can do. When you achieve enlightened state, then, with each of your pore of your bodies, even the just pore body can save and protect countless sentient beings each second, each moment, with each light, and so then, once you see that, then you see that is the solution. The solution is to achieve that fully enlightenment as soon as possible. If I can only achieve that, and not only you wish to achieve that, you want to achieve that as quick as possible, because you cannot see and you cannot stand the pain and suffering of others. It's like, a child being drawn into the water, and the mother will not be relaxing. She will try to do everything way to protect and save the child in the urgency, very quick. And so that way, then the wish to achieve fully enlightenment come very strongly, naturally, very strongly, as we understand that. And that is the Bodhicitta mind, the wish to achieve that fully enlightened state, driven by that unbearable suffering out of compassion that sees the unbearable pain and suffering of others. And so that is the Bodhicitta mind. And so that is how we cultivate the Bodhicitta mind. So yeah, so I think, and then in terms of so in the root text itself, it doesn't give, when it comes to the second, the bodhicitta, it doesn't give the definition of having actualized the bodhicitta mind. Unlike like in the what do you call, unlike the first one, renunciation and the view. In the view, there are three, but in here, when it comes to bodhicitta, it doesn't really give. But again, how do we know we have achieved that? How do we know we have actualized that bodhicitta mind? How do we know? How can we evaluate whether we have actualized that bodhicitta mind or not? So then, some of the scriptures, sutras, as well as some of the commentaries, they explain, like for example, the mother's only loving child, precious only child, if the child kind of the right English word now, I'm not remembering, fall into their 5 feet, the unbearable, the feeling of the mothers, the pain and unbearable feeling and wanting to save that person, the child, immediately, like that. That when you have that kind of unbearable feeling of all sentient beings and the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to free them, that, without any effort, spontaneously, naturally, when it arises, then that is when the bodhicitta arises, effortlessly. At the moment, sometime when we put effort, meditate, maybe for some moment, maybe we might feel it. But then when you are, then other times we don't feel that way. So that means we have not actualized the bodhicitta realization. But when you have actualized the bodhicitta realization, then without effortlessly, you have that feeling, the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to liberate all sentient beings by seeing unbearable pain or suffering on that day and night. Or in other ways, they also says, like for example, if your child, the only precious child is very sick, sick, the mother's day and night only think of that child, sufferings, pain, what to do, how to cure, effortlessly, without putting any effort. That just comes naturally, thoughts, um, and same way, without any effort, then, the thought, the wish to achieve enlightenment in order to free all sentient beings from the suffering, cause of suffering, when it arises day and night, effortlessly, that is when you want to achieve fully enlightened state. I mean, a bodhicitta mind, when one has actualized the bodhicitta mind. So I think with that, I think we, complete the bodhicitta for here. And so we will see when we can continue next time. Okay, so then we turn to, I don't know if you have questions, I can take a couple of questions. If anyone has questions, comments. Something to share or questions, you can feel most welcome to ask. If not, then we do the dedications.
Geshe-la, I don't have a question, but
Yes.
I just want again to thank you so much for the patient and caring way that you have given these teachings, that you just know how to get into our hearts. And thank you for that.
Thank you. So again, I also like to thank you, all of you, for joining and participating and giving your precious time. You have all the options to do whatever you want, but you give your precious time to come to the classes, and definitely for the, all of the, the director, Pemene, and SBC, Eloise, and then John, treasurer, and all other board members, and Sarah for sending all the forwarding, sending all the emails and everything, and all the people who help and support to run the group, the study group, especially in such a small town, a small group, not enough hands because it's such a small group. It comes to only few people who have to be there all the times. So everyone's rely on them. So again, thank you for all your support to continue to keep this group keep on going. And I think I have always mentioned in the past as well, sometimes we measure the success of a center on the basis of how many people attend the teachings or the practices or the events, But sometimes it is not always like that. And I've always mentioned before that, sometimes certain people who are having a very difficult time in their life and they come to the center, and through center, they find some kind of, relief. And they might not be able to come back for whatever reasons, for different reasons. People, sometimes they move away, sometimes they have other issues. They are unable to join it. But the center has been able to support and help them when they need it most. And sometimes we might not be aware of those things, how much it has changed. And some of them probably not coming to the center anymore, but having come to the center, it has changed their life. And they continue to practice the Dharma in their own way, And the seed they got from this Dharma center, And even I know some of the members who used to be part of this center who are not anymore coming to class, but they still continue to practice their Dharma, and they're very appreciative that they found the center and that has changed their life and give them a directions in their life, even though for whatever reason they are unable to join now and be part. But so that is a great help and benefit, and that is the success that we have been able to give the seed of the Dharma in their heart, which they carry. And so therefore, I think that is something I just wanted to remind. Sometimes we can feel a little bit low sometimes when it seems like, it's a small group, and then, and not, might think sometimes it's not being so much beneficial. It doesn't always, cannot be measured just by that. Yeah. So yeah, we can do the dedications.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you.
So we can dedicate tonight's teachings to these people, following people, those with obstacles. We have Trevor, Alyssa, John, Tiffany, Dustin, Abby, Bev Hawari, Serena, Sarah Jacobson, Juan, Siri, Sirabjot, Jeff, Crystal, Rahamina, Mary Jo, Eric W., Mark, Sean, Dasha, Katya, and all homeless people. And those dealing with illness, I have here Maggie, Michael, Christy, Dada, Rudabe, Raymond, Mia, Anna, Dutch, Claire, Andrew, Baby Omar, Nora, Jay, Andy Gold, Jim Tare, Ali, Matthew's friend from middle school, Cranberry the cat, Ryder, Chris's mom, Dasha, Nick, Mangus, Gregory Wonderwheel, and Ryder. And those who have recently died: Dharma, the beloved dog, Ken Hawari, man who jumped off the bridge recently, Spider, Don Braswell, Colin Powell, and Red.
Okay, into the due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. Chanju sem cho rinpo che ma ke pa na ke kyu che ke wa nyam ba me pa yang kong de kong du pe wa la sho. The wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Pinching Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Tu chu chang xin zhang guen jia wei, ten zin zhong pe wei kun su to ho ro zi, cho song ku wei le mo tu chu, pa da so du je guen du sha ten shu. Venerable One, to you, whose kindness exceeds that of all the conqueror, for those wanderers of far off in places, especially the West, mindful of your loving concern for us, in intentionally descending again into the family of far distant land, we make this request, O Lama, please leave now. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Can I just think, I just want to make, I forgot to mention that we decided today in our board meeting that we're going to have a puja, a medicine Buddha, at the center on Wednesday, and we're going to put that out in the newsletter, but I'll be leading that, and that is going to be on Wednesday the 3rd at 6 p.m. at the center, and we're going to be observing social distancing and wearing masks and stuff, but look out for that in the newsletter.